Hi, everybody. Fred Pell, CEO of Blackhawk Growth, here with Dr. Krista Leicht. She is the CEO and doctor, psychiatrist, wears many hats over at LeichtMind Clinic in Edmonton, and is an intricate part of our initiative, Trip Pharma. I think this is a good opportunity to speak to you and LeichtMind, and if you wouldn't mind just giving a little introduction about yourself, a bit about your background.
Well, I have been a medical doctor for almost 30 years, and I've been practicing psychiatry for almost 25. So that dates me a little bit, but in that time, I've had a lot of experience in terms of what works for physical and psychiatric issues and what doesn't. And I've found that a lot of our patients are quite underserved by the current medical system. Their physical and psychological conditions are not completely addressed to the point that they can live wonderful, productive lives. You know, for most people, we can actually improve things somewhat with medications and the various therapies that we have. But for a lot of people, it's fairly inadequate. People experience side effects. They have incomplete resolution of their symptoms, and they're not really able to experience that joie de vivre that the rest of us have and live life to its fullest. And so at LeichtMind Clinics, that's our goal, is to help people to actually achieve their full potential, to resolve more fully some of these problems that they have, be them chronic pain, chronic fatigue, metabolic disturbances, including obesity and diabetes. That plagues a huge amount of our population, as does a multitude of psychiatric issues. And we know from past research and research in other countries that the psychedelics, and particularly the psilocybin mushrooms and their derivatives, are brilliantly effective in terms of resolving symptoms of treatment-resistant depression, anxiety states, including post-traumatic stress disorder. There's great potential for the metabolic conditions. There's proven research for chronic pain and chronic fatigue. And we have a number of other different psychiatric disorders, including addressing some of the sensory sensitivities on the autistic spectrum, as well as attention deficit disorder that plagues a good portion of our population, as well as many other mood and anxiety disorders. So really the possibilities for psychedelics are really almost endless. And the brilliant thing about them is they work by two different mechanisms primarily. So they reduce the inflammation throughout the central nervous system and the entire body to resolve almost infinite number of different issues that people can have, some of which they might not even be aware of. And the other thing is, particularly for the psychiatric conditions, the psychedelics induce a state of neuroplasticity. So it puts the brain into a kind of a de novo state. It opens things up and makes everything potentially new again, so that we have that ability then to help people in ways that other drugs aren't able to. And the other really good thing about the psychedelics, particularly the psilocybin mushrooms, is the safety profile. There's a lot of different issues with side effects with our known psychiatric and other medications, but these things are a lot safer. People feel better with them generally, and so I see a huge amount of potential for these products.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, when we were first introduced to each other, I was really taken aback at, you know, how forward thinking you were in all of this. I feel that it's a dedication that you've had to actually treating your patients, the root causes of their ailments. And, you know, speaking to that, is there a path, I'm assuming that it has something to do with the way that the treatment process would work and qualifying somebody for psychedelic treatment. Is there a sort of, what led you to say that there has to be a better way? There is a better option to the current, psychotherapy that you had available, and, put you in this position of a effective first mover in, psychedelic treatment.
Well, it's something that I've been investigating for a number of years. I think gradually, as I gained more and more experience, I realized that no matter how good I could be as a clinician, there was just a limited amount that I could do for a lot of folks, be it, combining the optimal medical and psychological treatments. There, like I said, there were still a number of people, a large percentage, probably more than 50%, that didn't experience the sort of joyful life that I would want for them. And so I started looking into alternative therapies, and it turns out that there's a lot of good evidence for the psychedelics. And it's just been very complicated because of the political situations surrounding it and all of the regulations. But, in countries where it is legal, they've produced a multitude of good research showing efficacy and safety. And if you go back to the 1960s and 1970s, before things kind of got shut down in terms of psychedelic research, there's another multitude of good evidence there. So it really kind of made sense to me that this would be the next frontier in psychiatry. And so I came to a point in my career where it was sort of time to either do something out there, step out of the box and do something remarkable, make an effort, or retire. And I can't imagine retiring. I mean, my patients are too important to me. I've historically worked with developmentally handicapped folks, as well as the complete general adult population, and more recently with some adolescents. It's something I feel compelled to do. I always have. But it's super important to me at this juncture of life to actually make that happen.
Speaking to the approach and what you've been doing in LeichtMind, we've recently added a few other practitioners, and getting down to the root causes. There's general practitioners, psychiatry, psychology, chiropractors, really getting down to any kind of path that treatment could take a patient in order to really identify the root cause of their condition versus the symptoms. How are we structuring that, or how are you looking to present the experience at LeichtMind?
Well, so what we're aiming to do is to have a multifaceted treatment approach to combine a number of different disciplines, like you're talking about, combining the medical folks, so myself and family practitioners to kind of cover the medical side and psychiatric side, and then have a variety of different therapists. We'll have psychologists and social worker therapists and life coaches that come from a variety of different backgrounds, and then a whole spectrum of more naturopathic kind of practitioners to, make sure that we're addressing the whole human being. People are such unique individuals, and, to pretend that we can address any complicated human being with one type of a discipline's approach, that it just makes no sense at all. So we want to be able to help people kind of on a more ongoing basis and allow them to come here, feel comfortable with us, and then access our various services as they need, as they navigate through their issues, both physical and psychological, throughout their life. We want to be there for them in all sorts of different ways. And it's not, like I mentioned before, this is not about coming in with a symptom. Okay, my arm is broken, and just fixing that up and sending them away. This is about looking at the whole person and helping them to vision where they truly want to be in life, and to help them be better and to be all that they can be. You know, that's traditionally not the approach of medicine or psychiatry. We take people in, they complain about something, we give them a pill or we give them a course of therapy and then send them out. But this is actually about challenging people to get more to the root of what's ailing them. And in the course of doing that, identifying their true values, their goals, what would make them a more complete and fulfilled person. And then trying to work with that through a variety of different practitioners.
I think to the Mayo Clinic, you know, when you go to a facility of that nature, you do have multiple practices in a single office. They're able to come in and identify the potential causes of somebody's ailments, separate them and put them in the right, you know, medical treatment or with the right practitioner almost instantly. It makes a seamless system, which allows for, you know, quicker treatment and higher success. To my inexperienced opinion, it seems like the most logical route to treat somebody. So, and I mean, saying that, would you say LeichtMind kind of follows the same process?
Yeah, absolutely. We really want to offer people what they need where they're at the time of their life that they present to us, and then to give them a very comfortable kind of environment where they become part of the family, and then we follow them along throughout their life and tailor the, you know, whatever services we're going to offer to their needs as they evolve.
And speaking to that, who qualifies? Can anybody from Canada be treated in LeichtMind? Do they have to take any steps? Is there any cost to the treatment? I know that obviously the answer is certain ones yes, certain ones no, but if you can maybe enlighten us directly to which ones are paid services, and is everybody qualified?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, in Canada, as you know, we have sort of a centralized medical system, so anyone can come to us and access our services. The physician services are actually covered in our province by Alberta Health, and other provinces it would be by the provincial health authorities. And then other services tend to be partly covered by third-party insurance and or government programs such as Blue Cross and the like. And then there may be services that we offer that are completely paid out of pocket. And in terms of that, that's another reason that the psychedelics are actually a really good way to go. Because if you look at the cost effectiveness, you know, comparing it to the amount that people have to pay even out of pocket for drug therapies of various types, the psychedelics are very inexpensive in that regard. So our aim is to be able to offer treatment to absolutely anyone who wants it.
You've been adding practitioners and other ancillary professionals to LeichtMind. We haven't disclosed any of those people yet. This is something, unfortunately, that we'll have to get to in another video after some news releases. But you know, LeichtMind's becoming very large. It's going to have a significant number of practitioners of different practices involved. Do you see a requirement to expand LeichtMind across Canada after you've built that infrastructure? I know it's not an easy thing to bring in such accredited professionals in multiple cities, but do you think the effectiveness and necessity would see LeichtMind across Canada and maybe into the US?
That would be the ultimate goal, for sure. I think probably because of the complexity of the different provincial regulations and the need right here in Edmonton, we would probably need to expand quite a few times, even just in Edmonton, and then in neighboring cities in Alberta, before kind of moving on to the neighboring provinces. And I think it's quite a doable concept as long as we do it in that sort of a stepwise way, so that we're able to maintain the high quality of our services. Because like you said, it's all about the practitioners. You know, we're only as good as the people that we have.
Do you have a timeline on where you want to see the growth start to come?
It's really difficult to answer that. And that's in large part because of the government regulations that we will, and every other purveyor of psychedelic services will be held to by the government. So we are sort of awaiting their judgment in terms of what sort of qualifications and things our therapists will need, and that training, it will require time. So it's great to be the front runner and to be kind of have a bit of a head start on some of these things. Even given that though, we're quite dependent timeline-wise on what the government will allow.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's understandable. I think many things are dependent on regulations and the advancement of those regulations. And as somebody that's in the industry, I know that you had the intention of participating in some clinical trials. You know, I know you've zeroed in on a couple of particular areas that you would like to focus on. Did you want to go into those at all, or?
Well, there's a lot of really good evidence for treatment-resistant depression, and then all of the different anxiety disorders. And so when I'm seeing patients in the office, almost invariably, my patients have one or the other, some type of a depressive mood situation, and or often combined with an anxiety state. So both of those, I think we would really be able to offer the most to the most amount of people by targeting those. The other thing that I would really like to target is metabolic disturbance, because when you look at our population and the sort of rate that we're afflicted by the diseases of civilization, essentially, like blood sugar dysregulation, so the whole diabetic spectrum and other metabolic issues, obesity, hyperlipidemia, high cholesterol, that type of thing. Again, it's almost ubiquitous. Pretty much every patient will present with some form of mood and anxiety disorder and metabolic dysregulation. Probably those three in terms of clinical trials, because then we would almost be able to help anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the process to do that, you know, is something that you're familiar with, have gone through. Do you see any, you know, requirement from the other practices that are in LeichtMind that will assist you achieving these clinical studies? Is that the reason for the
Sure.
other reason for the multi-practice?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we would make use of the entire multidisciplinary team and have our research, you know, our specific dedicated research team as well involved. So the clinical trials, that's all a very kind of highly complex and regulated type of a situation, so that we can get good clinical data and actually publish our findings and contribute to science and the movement forward of science. So yeah, I would see all of our practitioners being involved in that for sure.
Well, Krista, thank you for your time. I think that's a very good intro. You know, if it's okay with you, either myself or somebody from our marketing team, I hope we'll keep following up and speak about progress or get information out about what it is you're doing in LeichtMind and Trip Pharma. Exciting times ahead for sure. Thanks, Krista.
For sure. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Chat soon.